Have you experienced your world suddenly turning pink at the thought of someone and suddenly turning black at the thought of someone else? It could even be the thought of the same person in two entirely different scenarios. Only a mere thought can shift the reality of our life from A to Z or from Z to A. Believe it or not, we live in our own universe. We may think otherwise, but we spend our entire lives in the confines of our head. There is a difference between thoughts and reality, yet our brain is the kind of electrochemical organ that cannot distinguish between the two. Whether you think negatively or encounter an actual negative situation, your brain takes both as just the same and generates corresponding negative emotion in both the cases. And not to say this, but our head is a terribly lunatic place. Thoughts are chord swallops and flap doodles rumbling in the space of our head, causing us to feel happy and sad. The thoughts running in our head make us flip characters, feel emotions, play roles, and identify with archetypes. Sometimes we experience regular nonsensical thoughts, while sometimes the chemical behind a thought is much more intense. In this case, these are called as intrusive thoughts. Intrusive thoughts are involuntary thoughts that arise suddenly and out of nowhere. They come in all shapes and sizes but typically tend to manifest as disturbing images, taboo topics, or harmed scenarios that we imagine playing out and impacting either ourselves or our loved ones. When we talk about thought reframing, it is quite possible that we may reframe certain thoughts, but with intrusive thoughts, it becomes nearly impossible to work with the thoughts. Our body gets hooked to the peptides released by these intense thoughts, and we may even experience intense biochemical changes in our body. Think of aggression, rage, anger, violence, terror, love, attachment, cult motivation, and likewise. Emotions like these have too strong chemical reactions to be controlled by mere thought framing. In this case, we require something that lies behind and beyond all these noisy layers of thoughts, intrusive or not. This is called as externalization narrative technique. It involves looking at a thought or emotion as an externalized object rather than identifying with it as if it was the reality. Just think about it. If we identify with every thought we have, we'll turn crazy in no time. We'll do insane things and will be nothing short of mad. Because our thoughts are typically anxious creatures and angry entities seeking chemical feed from our attention. If we give them this feed, they magnify and start eating up the fabric of our consciousness, causing us restless and out of control. Spiritual alchemy, which is all about transmutation from a lower energy to a higher energy, is about how much distance can we cultivate from the intensest of our thoughts. It's about shining the light on something which is a witness of all these thought drama. We need a higher layer of consciousness to throw light on this realm. It is crucial that we equip ourselves with the knowledge of who I am. Unless I know that I am something beyond the persona and the identities, I cannot shine light on the witness of this asylum of thoughts. Love is a drug and most of us buy into it. But what we usually call as love is not even love at all. It is an attachment based on chemicals and peptide addictions, which is actually not good for our health. Peptide addiction is not only about a substance or a person, but it can also be about technology such as our mobile phones. It is not us who can frame our minds, but we enable a higher channel of consciousness to reframe it. Our job is to witness and to witness the witnesser even. Telescoping through the entire frame in which a thought is appearing, we stand apart from it. Externalize the thought, notice and observe the thought, keep observing it until it deconstructs itself in front of your awareness and dissolves into the space, revealing to you an insight. If you are thinking what is the use of it, then you haven't yet lived your life to the fullest. Because once you live, you will recognize what ill of a suffering thoughts can cause to a human being. It stops us from exploring all that is possible in us. We surely need a riverbank to flow in life, don't we? Understand this with a little bit of science. Your body makes peptides. These peptides are produced and released by the neurons. They are strings or short chains of amino acids which are the building blocks of proteins and that play important roles in biological processes. In each cell, there are thousands and thousands of receptors. Each cell is specific to a certain kind of peptide. When we have feelings of anger, sadness, guilt, excitement, happiness, or nervousness, each separate emotion releases its own flurry of neuropeptides. These peptides move through the body and connect to those receptors that change the structure of the cell. When these cells divide and multiply, the new cells created too will match the kind of peptide that the old cells were exposed to. Thus, if you have been bombarding your cells with peptides from a negative attitude, you are literally programming your cells to receive more of these negative peptides in the future. Even worse, you are decreasing the number of receptors of positive attitude peptides, making yourself inclined towards negativity. This peptide addiction can literally alter the brain's communication pathways. It involves changes in the brain regions responsible for decision making, impulse control, and judgment. While peptides have essential functions in the brain, excessive or prolonged activation of these systems can lead to imbalances and potential addiction. This is why it takes a persistent positive attitude to reprogram one's cells from the core. Every cell in your body is replaced every 2 months. So if you have a tendency of negative attitude, start today. Start reshaping the biological structure of your cells with the light of witnessing consciousness, instead of whatever emotion you are physically addicted to right now. And then, like the green-yellow color of light after a summer storm, your life will be a resurrection into a pleasant journey. Thank you.